Hey guys and girls, I'm Allie and today at Tells More Rights we're talking about writer-non-writer interaction. So, as you can see, I promised I would hang up curtains, but I still didn't. Which means I have to deal with this lighting. But that's something different entirely. Last time, I asked you to write in the comments what you want to see, but I got a few answers of, yeah, I have to think about it, but I still didn't get any suggestions. But fear not, my dear friends. I have a few ideas that will get me through, well, by now it will get me through around August. So even if there's no ideas from your side, I can still bring out those videos. So this time it's writer-non-writer interaction. And what I mean by that is, what do you tell other people about what you're doing? About what you're writing? How much can you tell them? How much can you promise them? And how much do they have to say about it? I settled for 3 things, but I will do a little bonus section in between the second and the third, because there are a lot of things that you should think about if you're talking to non-writers. But moving on. First of all, do not spoil potential beta readers. If you want to give your novel or your story to someone to read it when you've finished, or even if you're just in the process of doing it, you don't want them to know the end. It will alter their perspective on the story. You should give them the story without them knowing what will happen first. After that, you can still tell them, hey, read the story a second time maybe and tell me how I could do it better, just to, well, get across a point or something. But in the beginning, it's better if your readers don't know what will happen. I talk from experience. I was talking a little bit too much about my book, so about 2 or 3 of my potential beta readers were spoiled for the end of the first novel already, which was not very nice because all the hints that I was dropping, I wanted to know if they were subtle enough, but still like, that it still made sense. But since they already knew what would happen, of course they got the hints. It wasn't like oh, I didn't think it would happen. It just, well, it came naturally, but I was still surprised or something. They weren't surprised because I already told them. So that is something to keep in mind. The second thing I want to talk about is do not promise to make people into characters. I actually did. I'm talking about experience in all of this. So I promised, I think, someone from university and a cousin of mine that I would put them in a book. I didn't really. I didn't do it in my actual novel because it just didn't work. What I want to say with that is, if you want to capture a real person that you may know, but you don't know everything about them, if you want to capture them and put them in a fiction book, like in a fiction novel, then it doesn't work that way. There are a few reasons why it doesn't work. First of all, you will always have the feeling that something is missing. Like, they are not the person you want them to be. They're gonna be a different person. They're gonna be a character. Throw them in this other world or other situation and they're not gonna be the same anymore. And the same is for the people you promise it to. if they see what you did with them, with their character, it's probably not going to turn out like they want it to. Because everyone has a different perception of a person, so whatever you see in them, whatever you put into the character, they won't see it like that. And they will be disappointed, and they will ask things you can change. Could you make this character a little less bitchy or something? That's a little bit extreme, but yeah, they will always have this perspective of themselves that is not gonna be aligned with yours. And even if you do make it work, sometimes putting real characters into a fiction novel is probably not the best idea because you, as I said, you have those other situations. You don't have this normal day-to-day life stuff. If you write that, if your character in the novel that you made from a real person is just a normal person in this novel, then you could make it work, I guess. But if you put them in different situations, if there's an attack or if they lose someone, which they maybe didn't do in real life, then it's hard to make a real person work as a fictional character. It may, funnily, it may not seem real enough to the readers because it's very hard to capture a real person's personality in situations you've never seen them in. Moving on. So I have a few bonus things to say about what you should or should not say. Well, first of all, just in general, don't talk too much about it because people will get sick of this. There might be people who like hearing a lot about your novel and day in, day out, for hours about how you want to progress the plot and how you want to flesh out your characters. But not all people will see it that way. So it's a fine balance between telling people about it and getting opinions and telling too much about it and just losing everyone because they don't want to talk to you anymore. So there will be people bugging you about, hey, when is the book coming out? Is there gonna be a movie? When will we get to read it? Do I get a signed copy? Anything like that. Just, those questions are a little tricky to answer. Sometimes you know when your book is coming out. It depends on if you have a publishing contract and stuff, or if you want to self-publish and are already on the way to do it. But things like, is there a movie coming out? You probably don't think so or don't know if there will ever be a movie or a series, because that's a long and hard process, and I don't think that, like, there's a lot of books that never get a movie, and sometimes it's better that way. But all those questions about being finished, being famous, just a tip from me, just go in there cautiously. Don't say, oh, that will never happen, because you're just gonna bring yourself down. But don't encourage them either. Don't say, yeah, I'm gonna make a movie out of this and it's gonna be great or something. Just tell them how it is. Most people will understand it. Most people aren't dumb. So just tell them, yeah, it's a hard process. I don't know if it will ever happen. I still have no date for publishing or something like that. They will understand. Even though they are not writers, that doesn't mean that they are not intelligent. And if they don't understand, then, well, what can you do? And the last of my tips is actually something very general that builds up on maybe the second one. It's do not write what others tell you to write. Write your own story. I got that a few times. It also worked well with the don't promise to make them characters thing, because people will always tell you, hey, bring in that, put in this. They want to have unicorns, or oh, there has to be a spell that works like that, and they will always have stuff they want to put in this. If you tell them about your world, they will always say, hey, in this lore there has to be that story. They always want to put in stuff that you didn't consider. And sometimes you might say, yeah, that works well, I'm gonna put it in there. But sometimes it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for you because you clearly have a much more specific mindset about the world you created, or the situation you created, the plot you created. And what you tell people about is not gonna be, it's just scratching the surface. It's just like the top of the iceberg. So maybe it just doesn't work, even if others think it will work, because they don't know everything. And don't just put it in there. It's like, it's hard to explain, but don't just put in everything that others tell you to. Because this is your story. You should have the final decision on what to bring into this. What should happen? What has happened? What should be the case in your novel? If others say it doesn't make sense, you can overthink it. But you should always keep in mind you know more about it. Maybe it doesn't make sense for them because they don't know everything. So think about, does it make sense with all the information you have now? And if it makes sense, then just keep it like that. I just mean that you should write your own story. You should be the final decision maker. You shouldn't let others make the decisions. They can have suggestions. That's totally fine. But you shouldn't feel as if you have to include them. So, like others pretty often said, if they want to write their own story, they should write it themselves. It's not your job to do that. So those were 3 and a few bonus tips for writer-non-writer interaction. Tell me if that's something you liked to hear about, something you wanted to know. The next times, if I don't get other suggestions first, the next times will be more about the writing itself. And this was something to just jump into this, and I'm gonna look it up. I had my ideas planned. The next time will be, if I don't get other suggestions, the next time will be 3 times 3 types of writers. So I'm going to talk about the different types of writers, and after that I'm going to go step by step into writing a novel, the process. So I hope you liked it. I want to keep this up monthly. I try to keep this up monthly, so give this video a like if you liked it. Write down in the comments if you have something to say about it, if you have any suggestions. And, well, on this note, have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!